So let's have a look at the benefits of being a property developer. Someone asked me this the other day and I thought about it for a few minutes and then suddenly realised that actually I've been taking a lot of this for granted and thinking, well, people just want to become a property developer to make a lot of money. But actually there's a lot more to it than that. So it's worth exploring a little bit more about this. A later lesson we'll have a look at the risks as well, because some of the risks aren't that obvious to the beginner. But firstly, when you're a property developer, you get treated a lot differently and you get trade savings. You don't go into an estate agent's, they'll never expect you, generally speaking, to buy at the retail price that they would advertise a property at. Because you're in a different situation, you're looking at either buying for cash or you've got money available or you're looking at optioning, you will get the opportunity to buy well below market value. And I know you're going to ask me now, how much is well below market value? Well, that could be 5%, 10%, and it isn't uncommon for it to be 20% or more, believe it or not. You're just in a different position. Agents want to work with you. They want the resales when you've done whatever you're going to do to add value to the property. And you're just in a totally different sort of competitive environment. You're competing really with other developers rather than general public. The other great benefit you get is if you do go and build houses and do the developments yourself, is you can buy some really nice fixtures and fittings, so bathrooms, taps, kitchens, even wardrobes, all at trade prices. For example, I went into a local high street store, shall we say, big out of town unit I went to, but they're well known. I can't really mention them, but I bought some taps for a development I did a few years ago, and they were about £230 each, and that was even with a trade discount. I then found online a very similar tap, differently branded, I could buy for about £80. I waited for that to come into a sale and applied my discount to it, which is my trade discount, plus you get the VAT back, because when you build houses it's 0 rated. I ended up paying £32 for these taps, so a saving of almost £200. It's just incredible. So I bought 30 of them, enough for 30 houses basically, because I thought it was such a good deal. So you get savings. The other thing you get is a profit stream, because when you're selling properties you should be making a good profit on it. That's the whole point, that you're in business. You can also use them for refinancing if you want to borrow more money and push your overall value of your portfolio up and up over a period of time. You can use the equity you've built in the developed property then for a deposit on the next one you're going to buy. You also find as a developer you have a much wider choice of finance. Everything from high street banks to what are called mezzanine finance houses, which we cover at a later lesson in great detail. I'll even tell you a few that I know of that you might want to use. But they give you the opportunity literally within 24 hours to have the money in your bank in which to go and do a deal. So you might be already cashed out, i.e. you've used all your money on another property development. And you suddenly a great opportunity comes up and you haven't got any money to spare, but you know you're going to have sold something else soon, but you need to be able to react very quickly. Very often within 3 or 4 days you need to have exchanged and completed to buy some of these great property deals. So having access to some of my contacts will allow you potentially to get finance in place within 24 hours. Sometimes they'll do it at a fairly high rate of interest, so it could cost you 10 or 12%. Other times they might do it as a joint venture, so that you're sharing the risk with them. But if the deal's good enough and it stacks up, they're obviously worth doing. Going on to the previous points, you can leverage yourself as well by borrowing a bit more against what you've already got. You can get quite massive leverage. It's dangerous. Personally, I never do it, but then I'm making enough money doing what I do and I'm in a very comfortable position and I don't really want to be a billionaire, so I don't worry too much about that. But I know a lot of people, and I have been asked quite frequently about leverage, because people have the idea that they want to be involved in building 30 or 40 houses minimum a year. I've got someone on my books at the moment who's looking, he wants to build 10 a week. That's his goal. And why not? If you can do it and you get all the finance in place, then certainly there's an opportunity to do that. The fifth benefit is tax benefit, which are always changing. But if you do build a house and you live in it, you can elect it within the revenue as your principal primary residence, and then you don't pay capital gains tax. So your profit is tax-free. I have done that, and in the process of doing that at the moment with yet another property. But you do have to be careful, because if you move too often, the Inland Revenue might turn around and say you're a property trader. And if you're a property trader, you don't pay capital gains tax. It's worse, you have to pay income tax and national insurance. So you need to be careful. Future lesson goes into quite a lot of depth with that, and I'll bring in a couple of tax advisors and accountants as well, who can give you some up-to-date information. But as I say, it does change, and every budget it could change, especially as the governments are looking to pull in as much tax revenue as they can. Sixth point here is that you could also get a higher rental return. Obviously your tenants are going to pay the prevailing market rent, so if it's £150 a week for a 2-bedroom flat, that's what they'll be paying. But they won't know that you bought your property for a lot less and refurbished it or built it. So actually your percentage return could be a lot higher. Now, if you read the press at the moment, I think it's widely recognised that rental yields as an average across the UK are about 6-ish%. So we're in the middle of 2014 as I speak. That's about right. But if you've built your own property, your return should be a lot higher, maybe 12%. I've got a couple at the moment that I'm about to let out, which I'm going to get about a 30% return. And you ask yourself how? Well, if you build 4 flats and the last flat is your profit, so it hasn't cost you anything, then you've got a massive return, haven't you? So rather than sell it on and make a capital gain and have to pay the taxman a load of money, you could just let it out for the rest of your life. It doesn't owe you anything, or it owes you very little. It's worth thinking about that. And the 7th point is security. Yeah, property development can make you a lot of money. But the most important point from anyone's perspective is that even if you bought wrong and the market turned against you, as long as you've got enough equity in the property and you can keep it generating a return to pay back any loans you have against it, you have security. And that's what everyone wants. It's one of the few asset classes that not only provides you with security, but also supplies you with an income stream if you do it right. So you add all these benefits up, and you can see that there's a lot more to being a property developer than just making a load of money. You've got other things that you can benefit from just to make your life a lot easier.